Hello, everyone. So we have Jocelyn here with us. She is the fearless leader of Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator and the originator. I wonder how the department came to be and how you fell into place as the leader of the accelerator, especially because UC Berkeley paved the way for so many other universities and research institutions to study blockchain, to do stuff in blockchain. And so I believe you were charting a path previously unknown. I think you were pioneering something that really did make an impact. So, yeah, tell us the story of the accelerator from your point of view.
Yeah. So I think, blockchain, as you would expect, kind of was a grassroots effort on the Berkeley campus. There were a lot of faculty doing some early research around some critical aspects of blockchain that, especially what we see today around zero knowledge proofs, was very much had a home at Berkeley. Um, and a lot of cryptography experts at Berkeley, computer science, of course, very strong. And then we had these students hanging out at the Sudarcha Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology who wanted to do Bitcoin meetups. And we're like, sure, you can do them here. And so they started meeting and having these things, and they'd invite people from the community. And I think this was back in 2015, maybe. Um, and that pretty soon turned into Blockchain at Berkeley Student Club. And some of those founders today are out in industry doing amazing things. Like Howard Wu founded Alio, which recently raised $200 million. But that student club really kicked off so many things at Berkeley. So big shout out to Blockchain at Berkeley Student Club. And then we had a lot of students graduating, kind of going out and doing really neat things like SF Blockchain Week, in San Francisco. And that was led by Ronan Kirsch and John Allen. And pretty soon, alumni started coming to us and saying, Berkeley is just this breeding ground for all this great blockchain activity. We really think you guys should do an accelerator. And so alumni were saying this, and then we had some students in blockchain at Berkeley, um, Sunil Rajput, actually, and I think one other student, kind of talking about this, like, what could we do to do an accelerator? So we had support from Ripple to the Haas School of Business, and that was called the Haas School of Business Blockchain Initiative, I think. That money is still there and is still funding a lot of the work on the campus. And Haas and Laura Tyson and Karen Bauer were supportive of this idea, as was the Sudarcha Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology. So we joined forces with Blockchain at Berkeley and we kicked off this accelerator in January of 2019 is when we announced it. And we took applications in March and we were past the ICO boom, so it wasn't quite as frothy then. But we put out the announcement and we had like 150 applications like in 3 weeks. And I think people knew blockchain at Berkeley. They knew Berkeley was famous for computer science and cryptography. So I think that attracted people. We also launched it and continue today to be a non dilutive accelerator because really our mission with launching this accelerator was that it be something that provides education and opportunity creation for our students and the entrepreneurs who join us. So it's not about making money for Berkeley. It's really about providing kind of extracurricular activities for our students around this technology and fostering kind of this open innovation sort of network where we bring together entrepreneurs with our community and help move the industry forward in a positive manner. So we kicked this off with the first cohort in March of 2019. Kartik Mahatra helped me quite a bit with that first cohort. And Luke, you joined us, I think, soon after. And we had that first cohort that we did, a really short, like 8 weeks of programming. And we had a demo day in Sibley Auditorium. We had some very notable teams in that first cohort. Probably most notable that stands out in my memory is Anchain.ai. So they are doing some great things today. They have a contract with the SEC to regulate crypto in the US. Um, and that was the beginning with that first cohort in the spring of 19. We also had a cohort in fall of 19, and that was another great set of teams. We had 12 in spring, 15 in fall. Luke helped us so much in getting like the website built out and the programming more developed and kind of building the network. What you did a great job with, Luke, was just like bringing in so many like mentors and VCs and vetting them all and like adding them into our database of people. And I think that everybody really loved the idea of Berkeley doing this, and they were willing and happy to support it and contribute in whatever way they could. And then, in spring of 2020, we were ready to take in applications for our third cohort, and COVID hit. And, it took a while for everybody to kind of figure out how serious the COVID situation was. But we had started to accept a cohort in March of 2020. I think we were ready to announce the cohort, and things started shutting down. So it became clear that all the program movement was going to be virtual. In the past, it had been online. I mean, it had been in person. And so everything went virtual. And we had used Slack a lot. We used Slack even more. We used Zoom for all of our programming because Berkeley has a license for that. And we had, I think, 18 teams in 2020. We had Akala, we had Astar. I really should have a list in front of me, but we had really fantastic teams that were part of that 2020 cohort. And we still have not met some of those teams in person, but we were on Slack with them constantly and doing our programming with them. So I think even though it was COVID and we never got to meet them, we still built really great relationships with them, as did our students and our network of mentors and VCs. And we did a demo day in total, online form on the Hopin platform. And I think we had like 200 people attend, and it turned out really well. So then 2021 comes, another year of COVID, and we did another virtual year of programming, another awesome cohort of 20 teams. And we did a demo day in person. Actually, we did it hybrid. We streamed it over Hopin, and we had it in person at Chu Hall, Kevin Chu's building in the Haas School of Business on the top floor. And we had over 200 people in attendance. And we also made it a career fair. So that was perfect. So the students were really involved. And we had a lot of VCs come. And all of that information is recorded and accessible via our website, accelerator.berkeley.edu with an X for Accelerator. And that was a great event. And we were able to do some like a lunch at the faculty club and a happy hour in San Francisco. And so I think that rebuild kind of reinvigorated us after almost 2 years of COVID. So now we're in, 2022. We've accepted the fifth cohort. We have 20 teams, and we just did a kickoff week 2.5 weeks ago, and we had 20 teams that we've selected. About 12 of them were able to come in person. So we had hybrid programming, and we had some great times with these teams. It was really nice to be able to do stuff in person again. And so Perkins Coie gave an excellent panel on the regulatory environment in the US. We had a lunch at Ripple in San Francisco. We had a happy hour in San Francisco. We went to the Verse exhibit, NFT, augmented reality exhibit at the SF Mint building. And we did a couple days on campus. We had Professor John Song speak to the teams, and we had some past teams talk about the amazing progress that they've made too, and how the accelerator helped them. Alluvio, which has the Alluvio Live platform, also spoke to the teams, and they're doing some excellent work also. They just did Dolly Parton's album as an NFT at South by Southwest. So that's exciting. It was great to see their progress as well. Akala spoke also about their DeFi ecosystem. They now have a 200 and some million ecosystem fund for developing DeFi projects on Akala. So yeah, we've kind of like come full circle where now what we're doing is we have 65 past teams and we involve them with the current cohort. So it's kind of a virtuous cycle, I'd say, in kind of getting past teams and current teams to all collaborate and get to know each other. Um, so we have that accelerator Slack going and connecting past teams and current teams and mentors and um, I think that creates this community that's kind of our own kind of little accelerator community that's been really neat to see it grow. And I think the other thing that was really great about the accelerator that Sunil Rajput put in place is the fellowship program. So among the blockchain at Berkeley students, they can apply to be a fellow in the accelerator. And we pair those fellows then with one or two teams for the course of the accelerator programming. And they act as like boots on the ground, is what I like to say, connecting the teams with their networks. And they have their own networks. They have student networks and student clubs that they're part of. They know how to recruit Berkeley students, other Berkeley students. And then they also have a lot of contacts in industry many times. A lot of these students have worked with crypto VCs or they've worked at big crypto projects themselves. So that just kind of expands our network even further. So the fellowship or the Accelerator Fellows program, I also think has been a big part of what makes this accelerator kind of special and unique. So I think that's
Totally.
kind of like history. Yeah.
Well, I see that you love to shout out a bunch of people who helped you along the way. But what I love about your work and your style is oftentimes you end up having to pull the cart by yourself, but you find ways to give credit to others and you find ways to make it work even if the pieces are not there yet. So, yes, the accelerator has this non-dilutive program for entrepreneurs where we don't take equity, we don't take tokens. Yes, we did consider a fund, but we backed away from that idea and thought ultimately maybe we should be a trustworthy organization that only cares about the great research and progress of the industry instead of trying to benefit off of it personally. I think we've run some great programs to help educate students and to give students opportunities in the form of fellowships and career fairs and whatnot. There's so much we've done. And so, that being said, I want to kind of backtrack and ask you before all of this, before blockchain even came to be, what was your story going into the world of tech and growing up in the previous bubble before crypto? And I guess ending up as an administrator and executive at the Sutarja Center for Entrepreneurship, ultimately bridging together the business school and engineering school, which oftentimes don't work together for innovation initiatives, and then marshaling all of that into a new vision which now, yes, we have cohort 2020, but we also have the RDI, which I will let you explain as well. Yeah, so tell us about how you grew up in the professional world, how you came to be an executive in academia, and how you ended up pulling together all these different forces to create what we have now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel so fortunate, like to have grown up in the time that I've grown up. And my dad was an engineer. He went to engineering at Michigan State on the GI Bill because he had fought in the Korean War. And I think it's amazing to see how education can make such a difference in kind of the trajectory of families. And so, and my dad always loved doing science projects with me, and I was the oldest and the only one for 5 years, so I got all kinds of technical attention, let's say. And I always loved math and physics and all my classes like that in high school. And so, of course, I applied for engineering, and I considered both Berkeley and Davis and Stanford, and Berkeley wouldn't guarantee freshmen on campus housing. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of scary to me from where I was coming in the middle of California. And so I chose to go to Davis, which was a great choice. And I ended up loving, my experience there and engineering there. Fantastic faculty, and also had the opportunity to just meet a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds. And also, I think because it's such a diverse campus, you meet people from many different backgrounds and you get a chance to, I think, understand how other people think about problems and look at them. One of my roommates is an assistant US attorney now in San Francisco and works on cybersecurity cases. And I'm still in touch with her, but that was one of my roommates in college. She now works for the DOJ. But I think it's just was really key to go to a big university like that and be exposed to so many different people. I think that's something unique that the UC system kind of offers is that diversity of experiences. And I was also fortunate that I got a job at Hewlett Packard in Silicon Valley at a time before the World Wide Web or the internet had really taken off, and so quite a long time ago. And I got a chance to see kind of how HP ran things. And I had the opportunity to work with some really great people at Hewlett Packard and was very much a meritocracy. And even though there weren't that many female engineers, I still feel like, people valued what you did as your contribution very clearly. And and it was a very profitably run group that I was in. And so you could see how the wheels turned really well in kind of this organization that had an R&D, manufacturing, finance, marketing, and sales, and how that all worked together. And I did move from engineering into the marketing side because I wanted to understand the broader picture of how the technology went from design and development into manufacturing. I had seen all of that, and then out into the marketplace and adopted by customers. So we were a B2B sort of business. And so I did a lot of business development and going around and talking to customers about new products and what they liked and didn't like, and thinking about the roadmap for the products that I was working on with a great team of, R&D engineers and salespeople. And I think those were really great experiences of understanding how organizations work effectively. Um, I remember going to the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People or something by Stephen Covey. HP put everybody through that course, and I still remember some of those key tenets. So HP did a really good job, I think, of kind of building the right culture then. I took some time off then to stay with my family, do some things for my family. And then I decided maybe, 9 years ago, that I'd really like to do something in tech again. So I looked around and I said, Berkeley, it looks like such a great place. I would love to try academia. So I found the Sudarcha Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, loved what they were doing, and kind of developed a relationship with them and even volunteered for a couple of months. And then they said, hey, we have a job for you. And so I helped out with a lot of programs there. And then the blockchain stuff started growing and bubbling up at Sudarcha Center. And we taught some of the first classes on campus, as did blockchain at Berkeley. And different faculty were doing classes too. But it was kind of this, spotty effort across the campus, no central coordination of any of these efforts, right? But they were just kind of bubbling up organically. People are like, this is really important stuff. We need to start educating about it. And so that's kind of how this accelerator came along, the idea for it. And Sudarcha Center was game to do it. And I raised my hand and said, yeah, I'd love to do that because I love seeing how new technology is adopted in the market and what those factors are. And so I've been doing that since January of 2019. And I think what's great to see is that the momentum has only built in the last couple of years. We went through a crypto winter, as you'll recall, Luke, but the last few years, not recent history, but, 2020, 2021, things were really on the upswing. And it was really exciting to see kind of the level of interest grow. And so, Professor Don Song reached out to me in about August of last year and talked to me about setting up this new center at Berkeley that would encompass kind of all facets of Berkeley faculty and be a campus-wide cross-disciplinary center. And I thought that sounds fantastic. We don't need a really big overhead sort of structure, but we need some sort of unifying umbrella, I think, over all of these different efforts on campus, to offer things like certificates and master's programs and um, kind of develop more curriculum that's multidisciplinary in nature, because blockchain is so much that way. So Professor Don Song and I have been working on that since last August. I'm helping her as deputy director while I continue to do my accelerator role as well. And then she has 14 faculty that she's onboarded, and Professor Christine Parler in the Haas School of Business, who's a finance faculty, is also on board as the co-faculty director. Um, so, Dawn's already been doing so much. She and Christine taught the first DeFi MOOC really in spring of 21, the first DeFi class in spring of 21 as a test for 9 weeks with PhD students primarily. And I sat in on that and was amazed kind of by the content that was coming together. And then in fall of 21, they launched the DeFi as a MOOC. So 300 Berkeley students took it for credit, and then thousands of students around the world took it in parallel as a MOOC, and they could earn an NFT for different levels of participation. And it was so well done. And Dawn also recruited Dan Bonet of Stanford, Arthur Gervais of Imperial, and Arthur Miller of Urbana-Champaign, University of Illinois. So she had, along with Christine Parler, so she had these 5 amazing faculty that put together this amazing content on decentralized finance. And all of that content can be found on defi-learning.org. And the YouTube of that has over 140,000 views of those lectures. She also did Future of DeFi fireside chat series with Michael Igorov, Jeremy Allaire of Circle, and Joe Lubin, and a couple other people. Christopher Giancarlo, who's the former head of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, who legalized Bitcoin futures, authorized Bitcoin futures in the United States. So I think, that content from Berkeley is what we hope to build more of. So that DeFi MOOC kind of, I think, is just kind of the initial signal of what we can do as an institution. And so this new center that we've set up is called the Berkeley Center for Responsible Decentralized Intelligence. And the idea is that, these decentralized technologies really have a place in creating this future of the internet, what we call Web3. But we want it to move forward in a responsible manner, right? So we have all kind of important areas that we want to research. We have a lot more education we want to do. And then it has a third pillar, which is community entrepreneurship. And the accelerator can fit under that third pillar. And we've just put up our website at rdi.berkeley.edu. And you can start to see some of our events that we've been doing there, and some of the courses that have been taught. This fall, there will be 2 courses. Again, the DeFi MOOC will run, probably with some updated content. And there will also be a course on entrepreneurship in Web3 that Dawn will be leading. So yeah, this new center is really great to see kind of come together. Dawn's also recruited 14 faculty. She's got 2 people from the law school, multiple people from the business school. Shafi Goldwasser, who's the co-inventor of Zero Knowledge Proofs from the Simons Institute on campus, and several other notable engineering and computer science faculty. So she's really put together this great set of faculty, and now we're in the process of kind of like doing all the fundraising for that and developing the content. I think I'm really excited about is this fall, we're going to bring back the Crypto Economic Security Conference on the Berkeley campus. That'll be in concert again with SF Blockchain Week. And we will do a large hackathon. So we just had a call about that today. So I think having a conference again at Berkeley around this topic is really exciting because the last one was in fall of 19, and because of the fires in California, we had to move it to San Francisco at the last minute. So it was kind of a fire drill, um, no pun intended, um, to get it into San Francisco. But it's always a great conference, and very well attended by both industry and academia. And I think it allows that blending of kind of industry and academia to come together, and collaborate and discuss kind of like what the key issues are for the industry to move forward. So I
So you
think I
mentioned,
think
yeah,
that covers it. Yeah.
more than covers it. So you mentioned this idea of a virtuous circle that as we grow, as we progress, more and more entrepreneurs come through the program, more and more students too. Students graduate, get hired, entrepreneurs help each other, partnerships increase, the reach of the department increases, everything goes forward in a virtuous circle. But what's also true is that at the center of the virtuous circle sits you and some of the staff members. The whole time your responsibilities are increasing, your burdens are increasing, and the rate at which the industry moves, the amount of education we must all do to keep ourselves up to par, it increases. So that being said, I look at you and sometimes I think, wow, she could probably get a partner level job at any name brand VC right now. I mean, let's be honest. And there's this saying, kind of a saying or joke, that in Berkeley, many professors actively refuse, high dollar offers from Ivy Leagues every year because they really just want to stick around and teach. They love Berkeley. They love what we do. So there's this public school ethos. There's this idea of doing something that's more important than money, even if the industry is flowing with money at the moment. And there's this story of unsung heroes, especially academics generally, who tend to sit in the middle of these amazing programs, supporting companies that are raising hundreds of millions in a couple of years, and they continue and continue to make this virtuous circle bigger, therefore their responsibilities, their roles. So that being said, I wonder, in your mind, as you do this work, in what direction do you want that virtuous circle to grow? What would it mean to you to see Berkeley Accelerator become an even better program, a program that you're proud of and you love for the long term?
Yeah, I think that it already is a program that I'm so proud of. We're on our
Okay,
fifth.
proud of more, love more.
Yeah, I think, if we had the ability to kind of, I should mention that, the accelerator is fortunate to be a non-dilutive accelerator because we have sponsors. So Web3 Foundation, Ripple, Polygon, Oasis Network, that's Professor Don Song's blockchain. Tezos has in the past. Algorand has supported us. So many of the major protocols have donated to support the accelerator and some of the courses that we run on campus. And that allows us to do what we do in a very kind of non-dilutive, right, a manner, which I think is also kind of part of this blockchain ethos, right, of building community and letting the community run the effort, right? Instead of a centralized entity running it. So I think it's this collaboration of so many people. And, we hope that this new center at Berkeley, RDI, will be like this hub, an open platform where we can bring together all these parties to kind of collaborate, and provide content and education and, research that guides industry in a positive manner. Um, and I think that's what I hope the accelerator can help with. Um, we're onboarding sponsors right now to this new center, and we'll be announcing some of those in the months ahead. Probably more formally at the conference this fall. I guess I should mention that conference will start on October 31st on Halloween and on the Berkeley campus, and be for 3 days on the Berkeley campus till November 2nd. But I think that, what I hope for the accelerator is that we can take kind of that community that we've already built and help it grow further. I think another thing about the virtuous cycle is that the teams have donated back to the accelerator because they know we're non-dilutive. So we've always said to the teams, just pay it forward someday. And so Akala, BitCountry, Anshane, um, they've all donated, and Astar, they've all donated back to the accelerator to help fund what we do. And I hope that just continues so that we can grow the program and make it an even bigger platform for people to collaborate.
Absolutely. And I see the network growing day by day. When I end up at conferences, even little meetups, there's always a little Berkeley Mafia. And so the Berkeley Mafia has a chat group. It has some Airbnbs. It has event VIP codes. It helps each other.
Yeah.
It's this virtuous circle that I think at this point hits every corner of the globe and all events that are relevant to our industry, even the small ones at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, the other thing I should mention is blockchain at Berkeley continues to be such a force. And last fall, the club, had applications, a call for applications. They had like 200 applicants, 200 students apply to be part of the club, and they could only take 30 people because they can only grow the club so fast, in an organized manner, as a student run club. And so they started doing these ecosystem meetups, blockchain ecosystem meetups monthly at Sudarcha Center. And Daria Kaviani and Ratan Kalyani, um, it kicked off these ecosystem meetups. They even put together a Notion site with all these resources. And we've been doing those monthly at Sudarcha Center. And we've had like the founder of Faye Protocol, the head of gaming for Ava Labs. We've had Sunny, the founder of Osmosis Dex on Cosmos. And like 100 and some people will sign up to attend either virtually or in person, and sometimes the room is packed. Um, but I think also those ecosystem meetups show that even like what we're doing today is not satisfying the demand. So I think that doing more workshops, conferences, and things like that are in our future to grow this.
Totally. And for those of you who don't know, the Sutarja Center has an office at the football stadium right next to where football players run into play. So it's a co-working space that probably beats all other co-working spaces in the entire campus. It's amazing.
Well, well,
Yeah.
and now the football field is actually called FTX Field right next to
Yes, that's
us.
right.
Yeah, because they just renamed it. I think that was last fall with a $10 million gift. So the football field is called FTX Field, and the stadium is called Cal Memorial Stadium or California Memorial Stadium. And yeah, we're fortunate that our offices are there for the Sudarcha Center. It's great open collaboration space, and Sudarcha Center has been so supportive in letting kind of these blockchain activities kind of foster and grow there.
Totally. So now we'll do some rapid fire questions, very targeted questions, maybe calls to action if you want to put out calls to action. So let's say somebody is an industry enthusiast. Maybe they're in a DAO and they do lots of Web3 work, but they do it as an avatar. Maybe someone's giving lectures and training students, but they're in a university with very little access, or someone has a company, but they're not so extroverted. Still, they want to pay it forward and contribute. Maybe someone has a big company or has exited a big project, they just want more purpose in life. I don't know. But there are so many people who hold knowledge and who have networks. How can these people engage by being mentors or advisors to our ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I failed to mention one thing that I think is really notable. Another big supporter of our work is a DAO, and it's BitDAO. It set up an education DAO, and John Allen, primarily, and I helped a little bit, wrote a proposal, a snapshot vote, that took place last December and was approved. And that provides funding to like a couple $100,000 to like 7 different blockchain clubs, one in Asia, and I think the rest are in the U.S. And also to this new center. So I think those DAOs, um, being involved and setting up a way to give back. I think another notable thing is Berkeley, the university, decided they would launch their first NFT. And so they took the invention disclosure documents from Jim Allison's cancer immunotherapy treatment and made those into a beautiful artwork NFT that Maggie Valentine designed, and Justine Humanansky and Meta Kothari helped the university. Those are all three of them are female blockchain at Berkeley alums. They helped guide the university, Rich Lyons and Mike Cohen, on how to work with Foundation, put this NFT out there, and then a DAO came together and bought the NFT eventually in the bidding, and that was the Fiat Lux DAO, which of course Berkeley's motto is Fiat Lux, let there be light. So it's kind of neat to see like this virtuous, ecosystem, Education DAO being led by John Allen, who's one of the founders of blockchain at Berkeley, all kind of giving back to what's going on at Berkeley today. And so I think, this people can get involved, by sponsoring activities at Berkeley. The hackathon will have lots of sponsorship activities. And so Blockchain at Berkeley is organizing that. I encourage people to get involved there because that's a really low lift, kind of easy way to have a presence at Berkeley and give to what we're building by sponsoring that hackathon. And, if you're a big donor and you want to give in a big way, follow the footsteps of Education DAO and make a donation to RDI.
Totally. And if I'm not mistaken, we still bring in mentors to a mentor network who can have access to our community channels, event invites, and if only they are hit up, they have to meet with a team and provide some advice. It's not like they have to do work every day. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And so we have a mentor intake form that we can maybe share as a link into this video. We are onboarding some new software actually that'll make it easier for us to connect our mentors and our teams. But what we really like to understand from the mentors is like, where do they think they can add value and how do they think they can best guide the teams? And then we take kind of an understanding of those areas where they want to help. And we share that with the teams. And then the teams say, yeah, I'd love to connect with this person, and this person. And we facilitate those introductions. A lot of times the Blockchain at Berkeley student will help facilitate those. Yeah.
Yep. Sometimes I feel like there's so much value add, so much happening that it's hard to put them all into one concise elevator pitch. There's so much going on. Okay,
Yeah.
so that was mentors. So often I hear from investor friends of mine, hey Luke, I want to get involved with the accelerator. How do I find a way to access your pipeline, effectively deal flow? Being a name brand non-dilutive force in the ecosystem, don't you get all the best of the best, the cream of the crop? And I tell them, yeah, but I'm not sure. There might be a conflict of interest. You're not exactly part of the selection committee, but for investors who want to get involved or cozy with the accelerator, what do you have to say to investors?
We do have a VC sponsorship package if VCs would like to sponsor us. And, we have information on the teams that we're collecting all the time and updating. And those that are close in our network, can see that information, especially our sponsors. And, otherwise, I think on our website, we still have a VC interest form and we collect that information. Or if you join our accelerator.berkeley.edu mailing list, you'll get all of our newsletters that talk about like our events that are open to everyone. Certainly demo day will be open to everyone, and that will be in parallel with the conference and SF Blockchain Week, that first week of November or last week of October. So I think, join our mailing list is probably the best thing to do, and get our newsletter, which we publish almost monthly, depending on what's going on and how much COVID is spiking, things like that. But yeah, I think stay in touch with us. And that's the best approach.
Cool. Okay, next, researchers. There are many researchers around the world, and I've met quite a few of them. They sometimes ask about the visiting scholar program at the Entrepreneurship Center. They sometimes ask, I'm so confused. Do I apply to something at Haas, at engineering, or somewhere else? What do I do? And sometimes they straight up understand the accelerator and they ask me, is the only way to participate to create a company around my research and then apply?
Yeah.
So, in your view, how can researchers best add value or engage with us?
Yeah, I think on rdi.berkeley.edu now there's a place like if you'd like to be a researcher, apply here. And so we have an intake form that Professor Dawn Song manages. And she's selecting those researchers that she's kind of bringing into RDI. And she has a list of like 4 pages of research topics that she wants to explore. So I think there will be plenty of opportunity for researchers, and that's the best process right now.
Okay, perfect. And for students, so Berkeley students, no problem. There are classes, there are fellowships, there's a student club. But for students elsewhere, how do you think they can get involved, even if they might not even be in the same state in California?
Yeah, I think, Blockchain at Berkeley is handing out grants right now. So if you go to their website, you can learn more about their grants program. And I think that is for like students doing research. You also, students could follow the Blockchain at Berkeley Twitter. And when they do these ecosystem meetups, they live stream them as well. So even if you're not in the Bay Area, you can join the live stream. And those are usually amazing speakers at those ecosystem meetups. So I think that's a great way to be involved. And, I think they've been going to like the Columbia Hackathon and, different things like that. So they go to industry events. And I'm sure if you follow them on Twitter, you'll know where they are and you can get connected with Blockchain at Berkeley and collaborate with them from your own school. And I
Totally.
think,
Uh,
yeah, I think Education DAO also will be expanding the number of schools that this blockchain clubs that they're funding. So I think also follow Education DAO and watch what they're doing as well.
Okay, or apply to Berkeley, transfer in. That that works too. That's fine too. Okay, last but not least, entrepreneurs. Um, More and more entrepreneurs in our space every day. Uh,
Yeah.
is there any way besides joining a cohort for them to gain value? And I guess some of this stuff you've mentioned before, come to the ecosystem meetups, what have you. But yeah, anything specific you'd like to say to entrepreneurs that maybe didn't make it through the application process this time around?
Yeah. I'd say, keep applying. We're not perfect. We don't always, we okay on occasion, probably quite often miss a team, and this time we had 300 applications, so over 300, and we only selected 20 teams. So, um, we'd love to hear from teams again in our next round. We'll take applications again in December and into mid January, and we'll select by March of 23. So I think keep applying, follow us on Twitter. If we do events, they'll be on our Twitter and in our newsletter. So come meet us. It's great when we meet founders before they apply at some event, or they've met one of our students and they start collaborating with the Blockchain at Berkeley Student Club. And then we kind of get to know them before they even apply is kind of a good way. Also, I think if they're building on a certain protocol and that protocol kind of is giving them grants and stuff like that, we often hear about that. And that's something teams should list in their applications because we know that then the ecosystem is investing in them. So we like to see that. But I think, keep staying in touch with us. Even if you don't make it into our cohort, I think there's other opportunities to engage with us at Berkeley.
That's such a kind way to put it. The door is always open. Okay. Okay, final question for you, and this one you can sort of philosophize about. Um, you've seen the industry from a very unique perspective for a while. You sit at the intersection of investment, research, entrepreneurship. So that being said, I wonder how has your view changed on what you look for, what you consider to be important or cutting edge since the outset of the accelerator up until now? And currently, what is it you look for?
Yeah, I mean, the industry's evolved so much since, the very early Bitcoin days and then Ethereum, and then we had this whole ICO craze. And I think what's important is that the industry established trust with the users, and we grow it responsibly in a way that you know serves kind of the communities that it's intended to serve. So I think that's why Berkeley and this new center put the emphasis on responsible in the naming of the new center. Um, so I hope that as an industry we can do that together, and grow that way. Yeah, but yeah, what else would you add to that, Luke? You see it as well.
Actually, I agree. I feel like the technology is trustless, but the community behind technology must have a lot of trust. So it's a race between bad actors and good actors. I personally have been hacked, made money, lost money, blah, 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 everything. And so looking back, I feel like if more of us who have access to knowledge and to connections use all the above for good, the industry can only end up in a better and better place. What that means would be serving more people in the mainstream, serving them in a way that allows for financial inclusion and freedom and opportunity. Those things that come up way too often on mission statements, but really, how often do mission statements actually get built out by startups that, like put that stuff on their website? Um, and I think definitely community oriented organizations, especially public sector organizations, like UC Berkeley or regulators, sometimes they get a bad reputation because entrepreneurs are inherently disruptive and
Yeah,
embrace chaos. So if you say there are rules coming, then no one even cares what the rules are. They just don't want rules. But at the same time, the society needs to have institutions and traditions and balance the need for creativity and novelty with a respect for people's safety. So
yeah, yeah.
I think in many ways, I definitely agree with you. It's a trustless technology, sure, it's decentralized, um, but also we need to engender trust and be responsible about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you said it really well. Yeah, let's hope that we can move it forward in that manner, and that the next incantation of the internet does serve some of those broader goals for public good.
Definitely. I look forward to seeing what happens in the future and also how cohort 2022, makes it big in the near future.
Yeah, we've got some really great teams. So check out our, last Medium post, and you can see the list of the 20 teams that we selected. And I'm sure you'll see stories of them showcased on our Twitter feed. And maybe when we post this segment, we'll post some links so people can easily find those resources to connect with us.
Yes. Many, many, many links. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, so many links. Cool. Thanks,
yeah.
Jocelyn.
All right. Thanks.